So we are live and Be the Change show. I'm bringing wonderful guests every day almost. So I have a wonderful guest. Before I introduce about her, she's already in the other side of my screen. She's Sangeeta Shankaran Sumesh. Hi Sangeeta, how are you?
Hi Jyoti, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So Sangeeta is CFO turned business coach. She's also a best-selling author and a global speaker. We know how a CFO changes into a coach. That's the most you know thing which you can very rarely find. And also an author. CFOs becoming an author. We'll know more about it from Sangeeta. Tell me, Sangeeta, how all this happened. Before that, I ask all my guests, the first question is, what is the one change which happened to you during the pandemic times, especially during the lockdown?
Um, I was able to go ahead and take action because I was
Okay.
always wanting to get started on my own as a business coach, and I think the pandemic gave me the time to kind of reflect and see and make me take the action. Because I was always saying this, and I was like, I'll do it one day, I'll do it one day, and that one day finally happened because I was, I think last couple of years I was kind of doing both the roles together, as a CFO as well as a coach. And then I've been wanting to transition. So I think the pandemic kind of gave me the thought for me to reflect and see, that I can actually go ahead and take this plunge. So that way I'm quite happy that I was able to take action.
Oh, wonderful. Because another thing is, how is it a CFO? I have worked all my life in corporates. So I have seen that CFOs are very, actually, when we interact, they're very serious. They never laugh. They never talk much. They always talk about finance, crisis, and everything. So how was it working as a CFO before going into transforming yourself into a business coach?
True. So, in fact, I quite resonate a lot with what you say because a lot of people have told me that I'm so un-CFO like, especially because I'm very friendly, warm. I can't be serious. I'm like, really, I go all out. I'm quite an extrovert that way. Love networking with people. So, I guess that's some inborn trait in me as an individual. And of course, being a finance professional with a corporate experience of about 25 years, I guess I'm like a mixed bag of the goodness of everything. That's how I would like to put it.
Okay, that's wonderful. So it was easy for you to transform into a business coach because when you become a business coach, your interaction with your clients or your people whom you're working with will be more. So, how was this transformation? Why did this happen actually?
Right. So, okay, let me answer why this happened. So, in me, like, what I felt, I think when I completed about 20 plus years working in the corporate, I felt there was something missing in me, some sort of a self satisfaction I felt was missing. And when I kind of thought through about it, I felt like, as a CFO, when I'm able to contribute to the growth of one particular organization, so I was like, how can I contribute in a larger scale to many more organizations? So I wanted to kind
Okay.
of go beyond. And I kind of quite challenged myself, in the sense, how would it be if I were to contribute more and see how other businesses can grow as well and not just limit myself to one particular organization. So that's when this thought occurred in me. And then I was still like, wondering, I wasn't sure what exactly I need to do. And I had a lot of
Absolutely.
this confusion, yeah, in my mind. And then when I kind of thought through, that's when actually I chanced upon coaching. So I started my journey as a coach. I got myself credentialed as a professional credential coach from International Coaching Federation. And then I realized, it was so beautiful if I can mix my, finance experience with my coaching skills. And that's something that, is unique that I'll be able to bring across to the table to my clients because then I help them to grow in whatever area of their choice.
Absolutely. So this is going to be one of the learnings for people who are watching that, if you are really good in one particular thing, you don't have to do that, that 9 to 5 corporate jobs. And, most of us feel, including me, though I've been working for 17 years, I always feel that you get restricted in corporate jobs, and then that's how you have that fatigue level. So
Yes.
when it comes to your work, your why did you have this? Because I'm asking this question again and again because it's in you were in a safe zone. Now, when you're starting yourself completely, you have to get the trust and you have to start fresh, start from the scratch. So, when you were already in the comfort zone, when you're already almost working for 20 years, another 10 years, you will anyways retire. So, why was this risk taken?
Right. So, like you exactly said, one, I wanted to step out of my comfort zone. And, in a corporate, like you're well protected, well covered, it's a kind of a set thing that you're doing. And of course, you learn and grow, but I wanted to do something beyond that. So, that's what kind of drove me towards this. And I said, how can I, as an individual, uh, feel a lot more value that I'll be able to contribute. So I guess that thought was what kind of stemmed me. And then I didn't just jump off like that, because like I said, I think for the last 4 to 5 years, I've been doing both the roles together. So it was, quite handsful on me because I didn't want to blindly jump because that also
Correct.
doesn't make sense. Yes. So
Absolutely.
I wanted to see, how am I faring? I wanted to assess my own performance to see how is it that I am, able to play the role of a coach. Am I really able to add value to my clients and stuff like that? So I kind of tested the waters for the last few years, and then when I felt comfortable, and then when I realized my clients also started acknowledging me for, whatever contributions and the value additions I was bringing to the table, that's what gave me the confidence. And even then, I was actually kind of procrastinating it. Then, like I said,
Okay.
during the pandemic, I was like, no, let me just go for it.
Wonderful. That's very, very interesting that somebody wants to transformation no matter what, and they're already made a plan for a long term. So, so when it comes to our topic today, why is that most of the businesses which are very properly planned, they must have planned from years, from 5 years or 6 years, and then they must have started. And I have myself seen, including e-commerce business, which have shut down completely, which came out with a lot of TV scenes and lot of print ads and everything, but later they have to close down. I don't want to name it, but I hope
Yeah.
you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
So
Yes.
why is that? There is a lot of downfall of any business. Why? When does this happen?
Right. So when it can happen anytime, businesses can collapse just after a start, but they can even exist for many years and then fall, right? So duration is never a criteria. But if you were to look, some of the major reasons, the common causes why many businesses fail, I would like to classify them into four prime reasons. Now, first is being a finance professional. I would definitely say one is lack of proper financial management, or they don't know how to manage the working capital. So that's one very common issue. Second is inadequate management, or the leadership style probably doesn't gel well, and it probably doesn't have leaders who have a good foresight and a vision. So that could be one
Correct.
reason as well. Third can also be ineffective business planning. Now, yes, there are some businesses which do plan, but not all, if you notice, right? So, and even the ones that they plan, probably they're not geared up for uncertainties like, the kind of situation, the pandemic, has really kind of taught a lot of us many different things. So, there could be different things like where the business as such, the planning is not done properly, or the business is not simply geared to take unexpected challenges. It could also be in the form of disruption that we see. And these are the three main things I would say. And I would also, the fourth one that I would like to touch upon is the marketing failure. People don't market their business well enough, and as a result they don't get enough clients. So if you were to notice the first three, right, that is the finance part, the leadership part, and then the ineffective business planning. The ineffective business planning is something that I call as high performance, when the performance is not really up to the level it's expected to be. So I have come up with this acronym. I say fly high. I mean, tell me, everybody would like to fly high, right? So what does fly high stand for? F is finance, L is leadership, Y is your, and high is high performance. So I say, but you need to focus on all these three areas. Now, if you were to look at it as a triangle, A leader is the one who drives financial performance, right? As well as high performance. A leader has to drive high performance for great financial results. So I think these three areas are quite interconnected and interlinked, and therefore this becomes something very important and crucial for any business to succeed. Else, it could be a potential failure.
Got it, Sangeeta. But sometimes it happens that even market trends change. Do you think that is one of the failure? Because sometimes trends are the major causes when you're not cautioned, when people start accepting such kind of products. Do you think that's also one of the reasons?
Yes, so like we know, we live in a VUCA world. That is, it's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So therefore, business has to be geared up. At any point in time, we don't know which way it will come through. So in fact, I go a step ahead and then I coined this term called VUCARD, which is your VUCA plus R is the risk and D is the disruption. Now these things have become very common in any industry, and one just needs to be prepared to see how to tackle such things, because market trends can change, customer preferences, customer behaviors keep changing. There's nothing like to say this is how it will be, and doesn't guarantee you of a sustainable future. So the businesses have to be constantly geared for any kind of challenges, and that's what gives them the higher hand and helps them to go to the next level.
Sagita, do you think this market research, where a lot of agencies are being hired, whether it is the regular IRS or the agencies like Nielsen or some other agencies like I don't want to take names, like I kept a certain example, a lot of agencies. Will this help in giving you the market trends for any business? Is it helpful? Is doing a research in the existing business. Say I'm running a business for say a decade, and there is a sudden downfall or a change in the market preferences of the consumer. Do you think that I should do such research, spend money on research, on marketing research? What do you suggest?
Right. So see, market research is something that's very important, definitely. But then you also have to apply financial prudence when it comes to that, right? Because you need to strike a fine balance between the two. So if you were to look at the market trends, the trends could be based on the past. Whereas the market research could be more on the research on the current preferences of the customers or the consumers, for instance. So a shrewd business person must be able to see what sort of returns are they getting by incurring the spend on the market research. How are they going to recover much more than the amount that they've spent? So that's where the financial prudence comes into play.
Okay. So when you said earlier that proper marketing is also one of the main reason. So which means that you're saying that the proper PR marketing for the product is essential, and the when you're planning a financial budgets, what happens is that is the not the top priority when it is discussed. So why do you think that always happens when somebody are planning for business?
See, when it comes to marketing, what I've noticed is, especially with the small and medium-sized business owners and entrepreneurs, is that they kind of shy away from marketing. They feel, okay, I'm offering all this, the customer will come to me. But in reality, that doesn't really happen, because if you're out of sight, you're out of mind as well, right? So you always need to kind of remind the customer that, hey, this is what I'm having. And not just that, the marketing can't be like spread across to everybody. It has to be to your specific target audience. So, whoever is you're targeting, what you're offering, your service, your product, whatever it is, it has to reach the right target audience. Otherwise, the marketing spend goes a waste, and you don't really get sufficient returns from marketing. So one needs to apply this care and caution before they spend on marketing.
Wonderful. So, Geeta, what is this seasonal trends? When people discuss about this, it happens seasonally. So my product works very well in this particular season, say the festive season, or that when it comes to June, your monsoons. So how should one plan for these seasons, and how is that you should keep your budgeting on that, and what is it actually? Is that seasonal thing works? Is it true?
Right. So if you were to notice, the seasonal stuff definitely exists, but it varies industry to industry. Like, for example, a company that's into air conditioner or refrigerator, then during summer, that's when the sale is going to pick up, right? And then we
Correct.
also have like, low seasons like July, that's when people come up with these RD discounts, right? So
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
to promote the sale and increase it. So you'll have to come up with creative ways to, get to your customers. Festivity is definitely another great way to reach customers as well, your potential customers. So one has to again, look how the past has been, because the past reveals a lot of data, a lot of information. So when is it the customer is ready to buy? Like, if you notice, the festive season is when probably the customer has a lot more purchasing power. So it makes
Correct.
sense to kind of lure the customer at that point in time, right? So you'll again have to look through the trends. You'll have to see what exactly the customer wants, and it has to be like a story. So it's like a storyboard with like a jigsaw puzzle, wherein you have to fit in the right pieces for you to get to the exact story.
I have seen in many of the businesses that even if it is not seasonal, also they create some basically some content, or they might celebrating a small little days, or creating small little days like your Mother's Day, Father's Day, Uncle's Day, Grandparents Day, whatever days. Even I
And
have seen it.
even
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like the Suez Canal that we saw, I'm sure
Yeah.
most companies have, yes, made the most of it. Yeah.
So even like creating when people since it's I have seen one of the hospital industry doing something, especially in hospital industries, many hospitals are doing this, that uh, targeting on the mental stress of insomnia and all that. So is that a kind of a marketing trend they're creating, which is not there already? Is it effective?
So as long as you're able to grab the attention of your customer, I think it's a great job. So that becomes like your lead magnet, your lead generation. And thereafter is when you kind of translate that lead into a customer. So every business is trying to, get the eyeball attention of their customers. So that is why all
Absolutely.
this is happening. Yeah.
So wonderful. So when it comes to when we go back to the financial things, most of the businesses run on collaborating with many other partners. So
Right.
when somebody has to say, for example, for example, somebody is running a clothing business and they have been in the business for 5 years and they are collaborating for some other thing. What is that few things they should keep in mind when they're doing for some taking some stakeholders or going into a partnership. So, what are the things that should one have in their mind when they
Right.
are very new to this kind of thing?
Excellent question. So, see, collaboration is something like a marriage, I would say, because you're bringing in your best, the other person's bringing their best, and then thereby creating a win win for both the people as well as for the customers. So, collaboration is key, collaboration is important. But the things that, one needs to keep in mind, and I have seen this with quite a few of my clients as well. Number one thing is documentation. Proper documentation needs to be in place. You and I can be best of friends, and if we decide to collaborate, we must have proper documentation there, proper
Absolutely.
transparency, and then so that you never know if at all things go bad at a later date, you have some sort of documents to fall back on. And most people do not have this foresight to look through on this, and that is something very important. I have seen this with quite a few of my clients as well. So first thing is documentation, and thereafter, the terms and conditions, whatever it be, it could be simple things like you look after the area of, the function of A, I look after the function of B, whatever it is, all that, there must be a lot of transparency and a lot of agreement with one another. So I think that is also very important that they need to take care of. And as I said, it shouldn't be like, like kids fighting, like, ego clashes and all that are quite common. So it can't be like, oh no, and then, fall apart. So you must have that maturity level to kind of collaborate together and see what are the commonalities and how you can leverage on the strengths of each other for the business to become a win-win thing. So that those three are the top ones that come to my mind.
That's wonderful, Sangeeta. So, when it comes to women of today, there are very few women who are going to the level of CFOs and CEOs. So, why do you think that, is it because that you take very often breaks? Is it because that, they're not able to adjust to the corporate life? Or what is it, what is backing the things then? I have seen, see, when I have worked completely in media, I have seen only, male CEOs and in media and few female CEOs very rarely. But mostly, yeah, in creative things, it's always a woman, whether it is a magazine, it is a thing, editors to, creative directors are always women. But when it comes to CEOs and CFOs, it's very few women. Is that because it leads 24/7? Yes, of course, this also needs. But why it is this? There's a slight change in that. Why it is?
So I wouldn't want to pin it down to any particular reason there, because I feel each person is unique. Each person's story is different. It's like, see, in my case, for instance, I just wanted to go beyond my comfort zone and see how is it that I can contribute more. So I decided to step back and try myself and challenge myself here. Whereas there could be somebody else for whom the family becomes a bigger priority. It could be aging parents. It could be the kids' future. So I
Absolutely.
think it varies person to person. But having said that, I think the trends are changing now. I do see a lot of women, not just as a CFO, it can be different C-suite positions. A lot of them have actually been blossoming very beautifully into different roles. So I think in the current day and age, I think a lot more women are coming to the front. But having said that, I think a lot more needs to come. And one good thing is, I think many organizations are also giving importance to this diversity. Because what I believe, like even be it on corporate boards, I'm also an independent director in a listed company. And what I notice is, women, we have different perspectives compared to men. So that creates a dimensional shift. So I think that is something very important. And that is why it's essential to have diversity in everything. Because, most men, like, even if you were to look at kids, boys think and, play and behave in a particular manner, but girls are different. And that's how we are made. So the same is
Absolutely.
applicable at the board level as well. And therefore, diversity becomes an important aspect.
Wonderful, wonderful. Saying. So you have transformed yourself from CFO to a business coach.
Right.
What was the one differentiation you saw when they approached you? See, some of the people might be someone whom you already know, whom you are coaching now. So, what was their approach? Were they different now, looking towards you in a different way? How is that because somebody who is transforming from a business to a self thing, then you become more of a mentor where you're also psychologically helping them when it comes to a coach because you're working towards their well-being. So how is it?
So to be honest, I have not found any change that way. I think people accept me for what I am because, like I said, I've been transitioning into this role for the last 4 5 years. So people have already, able to connect with me as a coach. So that way, I don't think I had any challenge there as such. So I think it's as long as you're able to connect with the people and give them the value and help them find their solutions. I think the battle is won.
So Sangeeta, how should someone approach you when they want to have you as their business coach or a mentor, or how should one approach you?
Right. Best is to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm Sangeeta Sumesh on LinkedIn. And I also have my YouTube channel. It's called Sang Shasum, an abbreviation of my name. So I love sharing
Okay.
knowledge. So I keep sharing stuff. My focus areas are finance, leadership, and high performance. So I keep sharing different content on these three. And I love to see how people around me can grow even more.
Wonderful, Sangeeta. Are you having some workshops so that somebody who's like would like to have some workshops could collab? I mean, get to know about it.
Right. Yeah, I do workshops for a lot of corporates as well as groups, different groups and forums as well. So of course, I have been doing it live in the past, and now most of them are online. So I do both also,
Absolutely.
and I'm also planning to come up with some other online courses, which probably I will share it on social media.
Absolutely. So people who are watching this show can actually get in touch with Sangeeta for your business knowledge, and when you're already running a business, it can be a startup also. For any such thing, Sangeeta is there, and already you have some business running from long time, and you want to know the business trends, and you're confused. You want some help. She'll suggest you what to go forward. It's you can catch her in as Sangeeta Sumesh in LinkedIn and also on her YouTube channel. Any which ways, I'll put that in the description of this live. So finally, when we end this show, Sangeeta, what do you want to tell to the women out there who are, doing this so-called, I don't know, they're doing multitasking. I don't believe in it, but everybody says it's multitasking. So what do you want to say to women out there to, how should they look forward in their life? How should they be themselves? What do you have to say to the women out there?
So I think, when you're traveling in an aeroplane and, if there's an emergency, what do they say? First put the mask on yourself and then help the people around you. So I think that is something very important for women because, women, we are like givers, we're always putting family first, which is great. But then at what cost? Only if you are well, can the family be well, right? So that's something that's important. So ensure you are well, pamper yourself when it's required, even if it's like taking 5-10 minutes off each morning, just go chill, put your feet up, like read the newspaper, whatever, drink your tea or coffee, just learn to chill out. That's important. And the second message I'd like to tell is learn to delegate. Women, again, we don't realize, we just like to hold everything onto ourselves. We think the whole world rests only on our shoulders. So I think we'll just have to kind of move beyond that, break that barrier, and see how we need to partner with the family at home and partner with our colleagues at work so that, our lives can be made a lot easier.
Bang on, Sangeeta. It actually relates to me. The second thing of, not delegating things, even being in a leadership level. So there's a question, Sangeeta, before I end. It's just popped in. It's from Raja. Hi, Sangeeta. I have a small business. Can you suggest some innovative ideas for my business development? I think, Sangeeta, can you tell it now or will you share it? Raja, can you contact?
Yeah, I can share what comes to my mind. Raja, I don't know what is the business that you're running, but having said that, I think if you're able to solve the problem of your customer, like, how is your customer's life going to get better by using your product or service? If you're able to nail that down to your customer, I think the customer will be ready to come to you and, get your product or service because their life is getting better, right? So that is something important. So once you're able to nail that down, put it across to your customers, your target customer, your target audience, because then they will definitely come to you and want to take it up.
Wonderful, Sangeeta. Raja, I really suggest you that, you have been a regular watcher of these shows. So you can contact with Sangeeta. I have already mentioned the LinkedIn. I'll put it in the description. You can talk to her personally, interact with her, and get more such business ideas and any other help you want to know. So it was wonderful interacting with you, Sangeeta. It's wonderful. I think it was something which I also came to know a couple of things which was different. And you are the first CFO I'm seeing such vibrant and such a nice smile. Thank you, Sangeeta.
Thanks, Jyoti. It was great to be part of your show, and you're doing an amazing job. And continue to do it and rock on.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And Raja is saying thank you so much. Yeah. She'll connect with you. Thank you so much. Bye, Sangeeta. Bye.
See you. Bye.